Oliver worked in the quiet, dusty office of an old post station. The place was filled with the hum of sorting machines and the faint scent of aged paper. One afternoon, while organizing a neglected storage room, he stumbled upon a box of undelivered mail. Most of the letters were trivial, a few bills, postcards, but one envelope caught his eye. It was neatly sealed and addressed to a woman named Eleanor Grayson. The postmark on it was dated 20 years ago. Curiously, there was no indication of why it had never been delivered. Intrigued, Oliver examined the envelope for clues. Should he deliver it now, after all this time? Something about the letter felt important, as though it had waited decades to fulfill its purpose. He decided to investigate. Using the address on the envelope, Oliver discovered that Eleanor no longer lived there. The current residents had no idea where she had moved. He searched local records, asked around town, and eventually found someone who knew her, an older man at a library who remembered Eleanor from years ago. "She's still in the area," the man said, scribbling down a new address for Oliver. "Nice lady. Bit of a recluse these days." Oliver drove to the address, a small, charming cottage on the outskirts of town. Nervously, he knocked on the door. After a moment, it opened to reveal a woman in her late 40s, her eyes curious but cautious. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Are you Eleanor Grayson?" Oliver asked. When she nodded, he held out the envelope. "I found this letter. It's addressed to you and was never delivered. I thought you might want to have it." Eleanor hesitated before taking the envelope. Her hands trembled slightly as she examined the handwriting. This is from Michael," she whispered, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Do you know who that is?" Oliver asked gently. "Yes," she said, her eyes welling up with tears. "Michael was a close friend of mine, more than that, really. He left town suddenly, and I never heard from him again. I always wondered why." She opened the letter with care, unfolding the aged paper. As she read, her expression shifted, surprise, regret, and a bittersweet smile crossing her face. "This is a love letter," Eleanor said softly. "He was confessing his feelings for me. She was asking me to meet him before he left. I never knew." She sat down, clutching the letter as though it were a fragile treasure. Eleanor looked up at Oliver, her voice breaking. "I made choices back then, based on what I thought I knew. If I'd received this letter, things might have been different. But it's strange. I don't feel angry or sad. It's like a piece of the puzzle has finally been found." Oliver stayed for a cup of tea, listening as Eleanor shared memories of her youth and her friendship with Michael. By the time he left, she seemed lighter, as though the letter had given her some kind of closure. As Oliver drove back to the post office, he couldn't stop thinking about the moment. It struck him how such a small action, delivering a forgotten letter, had brought clarity and healing to someone's life. From that day forward, Oliver approached his work with renewed purpose. Every letter, every package held the potential to change a life. Sometimes, he thought, even the smallest actions could carry the greatest weight.